All right, everybody. Welcome to Volume 7 of what we're trying to rename, but probably be called Top 5 Guys or something like that. This week, we wanted to have a special introduction song for our friend, Mr. Joe Hunter. Never a problem to not wear a shirt when he's around. Um, cheers, Joe. Welcome to the
Joe.
podcast. I hope you have as much fun as we do. This is a great song kind of leading into this weekend. It's a nice weekend, sunny out, no problem. So, uh, Volume 7 is I think, an interesting topic for definitely at least three of us since we're big sports fans. Ryan who knows what's going to happen. That he's the wild card tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
So tonight's top 5 most overrated athletes, and this could go so many different ways. I feel like I'm so excited to have this dedicated sports topic that I can argue about for a little bit. We're going to try to keep this one shorter than the last couple. We understand your guys' time is money, you know what I mean? So we're not going to waste your time. We're going to get in and out, and we're going to start like we always do, and we go with the guest. And we're going to start with Joe. Joe, do you have anything to say? And welcome. And why don't you give us your number 5 when you're ready?
Yeah, no, happy to be here, man. Thanks for the invite. All right, so start with number 5, right?
That's right.
Most overrated athlete. Okay. Draymond Green. Right. First one, absolutely, is Draymond Green. That guy, in his first 4 years, people are calling him a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. Got completely exposed this year. His team's the worst team in the league, and he was the top guy for most of the year.
Yeah.
What he does, great role player, all that stuff. But as the guy in top 10, yeah, whatever. Draymond Green, and he's annoying as hell. He doesn't shut up. Super annoying. Definitely Ronnie's boy. I don't like him.
Ryan, any thoughts on Draymond Green?
I'm gonna pass it over. I don't know who Draymond Green is, so he's probably overrated.
Ronnie?
Yeah, I like Draymond just because he's a dick, but he's kind of too big of a dick for me too, which is kind of bad. And also, I mean, he went to Michigan State, so can anyone from Michigan State actually be good? No.
Oh, yikes. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole thing with Draymond is he's trying to be Dennis Rodman or something like that, but you're not cool enough to do it, bro. You're not a badass. You know what I mean? And I agree with Ronnie. It's almost gotten to the point where it's more not even being a dick. He's just a bitch. You know what I mean? So, not a fan. I agree with Joe. Good one, Joe. So, Ryan, we're going to move on to you for your number 5, which could get interesting.
Okay, so for number 5, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I know you're thinking to yourself, hey, Ryan, that's not a picture of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has a stupid fucking mustache. And you're right on both accounts. That's why instead of showing said stupid mustache, I placed this picture of Olivia Munn instead. The woman who ruined his career, who ruined Attack of the Show in G4, and who ruined Ronnie and I's first movie script, Hot Dog and Muns.
It's true.
It was all downhill for Aaron Rodgers once he met this succubus. You know how many times I've heard people say that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league without anything to back it up? And that's not even stating that this was being said when Eli Manning was still playing.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. I mean, last season, Aaron Rodgers had the worst quarterback rating in the league with an overall rating of shitty. His brother was on The Bachelor and said he stopped talking to Aaron Rodgers because of how embarrassed he was of him. So that tells you a lot right there. So Aaron Rodgers is my number 5.
Ronnie?
Oh, yeah, totally. Aaron Rodgers, I've always said he's overrated. He's a broken play guy. I mean, he's good. He's got a quick release. He's he's smart enough to play. He's won a championship, but their best year they went 15-1. I believe it was 2011. Of course, he lost in the NFC or the divisional round to the Giants and Eli Manning, who, as Ryan pointed out, that year, and as my number one person to eat with last week, I pointed out he had the worst offensive line, worst running game. Aaron Rodgers was stacked to the deck. Couldn't even beat the Giants' 30th ranked defense. Aaron Rodgers stinks. Also, the movie Predators with an S that was made a few years ago is literally the same script as Hot Dogs and Muns. I am not kidding you. It is actually really creepy.
Yeah, I have to check it out. Joe, do you have any thoughts? As Ronnie passionately had some on Aaron Rodgers.
I got to say, hard disagree on this one because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. And the number one rule, if you're going to be a jerk, which Aaron Rodgers is a huge jerk, you got to be really good. Aaron Rodgers is really good. It's like Michael Jordan was a jerk, but he was really freaking good. Like right. Draymond's not good enough to be a jerk.
Right.
So Aaron Rodgers, he was in Game of Thrones. The guy's just a man. He's the absolute man.
All right, so we do have some disagreement on Aaron Rodgers. I don't really have an opinion on Aaron Rodgers, to be honest. He's all right, I guess. Ronnie, who you got for your number 5?
All right, my number 5 had to be wheeled to the locker room at halftime for a devastating knee injury, only to return in the second half. Mr. Paul Pierce. He was just, he was a good player in the NBA for a long time on a team that was average. He wasn't spectacular. And all of a sudden, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen come along. They start winning championships, and everyone's like, oh, it's the big three. I'm like, no, motherfuckers. It's Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. And Paul Pierce is just there, getting wheeled around in a wheelchair. Paul Pierce stinks. He's overrated. I hate him, and I hate Boston.
Hard for me to hate Paul Pierce just because he had one shining moment with the Wizards. So I'm going to pass on that one because I don't really have a negative feel on him, but I'm also not super in his corner because I don't really like his nickname either, The Truth. I don't know if he's the truth or not, to be honest. Joe, what do you think? You're an NBA guy.
Big NBA guy. Paul Pierce is not overrated. Paul Pierce is great. He was always a great player. Nicknamed The Truth. That was not a good look when he went out on a wheelchair, only to come back. Another rule of sports is if you go out on a wheelchair, you can't come back. All right, it's just you can't do that. Plus, what you're talking about was game 3 or 4 against the Hawks, where Paul Pierce banked in the shot, called game.
Yeah,
it was a 12 o'clock noon game on a Saturday. I was at Ian's place, and so that shot, it's at the end of the game, obviously. So the shot occurred around 2 p.m., and I'm just destroyed, running around the house. One of the greatest Wizards moments in my lifetime. Paul Pierce is not overrated.
Ryan, you have thoughts on Paul Pierce?
Oh, absolutely. Let me spit
Kansas Jayhawk.
Yeah, let me spit some truth for you since his name is The Truth. That injury was actually so bad that Paul Pierce actually died that night. And much like the movie The Sixth Man starring Marlon Wayans, his spirit came down and possessed his twin brother who took over playing for him. So ever since that horrible tragedy of a moment, it's actually been his dead brother playing for him.
Wow.
What's his brother's name?
Maul Pierce.
Very unknown guy. He's an unknown guy, but apparently taking his place. I get it.
And go watch The Sixth Man. Good movie.
All right.
It is a good movie.
So I'm going to move on to my number 5. And so I had to have at least one of the worst people of all time on here. Yes, that's Emmitt Smith, not the person he's dancing with. Emmitt Smith, to me, is one of the most overrated players that has ever played football. And I hate, however, all the big three, they were so good. Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith. Yo, put Barry Sanders behind that line. Yo, he would have double. The only reason he wouldn't have double the amount of yards that Emmitt Smith did was because they would have taken him out because they would have been blowing everybody out by so much. The offensive line was ridiculous during that time for Dallas. They don't get enough respect. He was overrated. There, you see some of the holes that guy's running through, yo. Like I could have got 10 yards off, and the only reason they would have tackled me because I couldn't run 11 yards. So, I just think Emmitt Smith, Romo almost made my list. I'm not gonna lie, he was number 6, but I had to. Emmitt Smith gets talked about so much. Oh, he's so great. Nah, dude, nah. Joe, you have any thoughts on Emmitt Smith?
I mean, I thought he was pretty good, but I'm not gonna stick up for him because he's a Cowboy. So I'm with you. Overrated.
I mean, it's hard to argue against 3 Super Bowls and our time leading rusher, but I don't think a lot of people know that they were just continuously calling the FB dive the whole time. So who's not going to score 10 yards of run with that play?
Exactly.
I don't think he's overrated. I think there was a game against the Giants. I'm not sure if I was at this. No, I was at the Deion Sanders punt return one, but there's one game against the Giants in the early 90s where he dislocated his elbow on like the second play, popped it back in, and he still rushed for like 215 yards and like 3 touchdowns. And the Giants were actually really good that year. And he's like sort of like Frank Gore kind of. He's very shifty in small spaces. I think he was underrated going into the draft, and I don't think he's overrated at all. He deserves the title he has.
It shows you how much he's overrated if he can pop his elbow back in. The line didn't let anyone touch him. That's why he could play that long. All right, Joe, we're up to your number 4. You guys were all wrong. So on that one, I'm going to go to you for number 4, though.
All right, number 4 is me. So I'm going with Ronda Rousey for my number 4. So the reason I say that is everybody talks about Ronda in her time in the UFC, and I forget how long she was there, 3-4 years, whatever. But you know who people don't talk about that was in the same division as her? Anybody?
Tito Ortiz.
No, there's nobody because there's no one else in the division with her. Okay,
Right.
It wasn't that good. Like the whole division, it was too new. It wasn't that good. Not her fault, but like once serious talent started coming in, it just didn't go well for her at all. So no, she was good for her time, but overall, I think just overrated because I don't think there was much competition going against her.
Ryan, you're a UFC, insider. So what do you think?
I think this is all-time great pick from Joe. I was actually looking for someone from MMA to put on here, and I did not put someone on my list, but this was definitely a great pick. I mean, it was just she was a product of her time. Women didn't have the opportunities that they do in MMA now, so they just weren't out there. They weren't out there training. There wasn't nearly the amount of people out there training and competing because no one was hiring women. You couldn't, there was no. They created a whole division just for her.
Yeah.
I mean, they were bringing in people just to fight her. She was the only one signed by the UFC for a long time. So there was no competition. She was one-trick pony. She could get you down and armbar you, and people quickly caught up to that. So, great pick. Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't watch too much MMA. I know she didn't fight Cyborg, which is real bush league. She should have fought Cyborg. Also, she lost to Becky Lynch, who's like half her size in WWE. So screw you, Ronda.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about her. I mean, I think they're like, what was like her biggest competition, like Holly Holm or something? Like, she
got
was
her head kicked off.
and she was tired. Yeah, I mean, but I don't. She's overrated. So I agree with that one. Ryan, what do you got for your number 4?
So for number 4, I'm going with Fulton Reed from the Mighty Ducks. I mean, this guy was the enforcer from the Mighty Ducks, which is the most badass role in hockey. But you're telling me I'm supposed to be intimidated by this guy in his stupid fucking perm? I mean, he was so shitty at his role that they actually had to bring in another enforcer, Dean Portman, who was actually much better than him. I mean, and they oftentimes had these two enforcers on the ice at the same time, not contributing anything to offense or defense, wasting 33% of your team on the ice to just carry out hijinks. Terrible strategy for any hockey team. I mean, his incompetence was on full display on their match versus Iceland. If it wasn't for Goldberg in goal, always saving his ass, this guy would be a total nobody. Totally overrated.
Ronnie, any thoughts on that guy from the Mighty Ducks?
No, I don't really know who that is, but he does look like a tool, so I agree with Brian.
I don't know. I heard that they're bringing back his son is coming back because they're doing like another Mighty Ducks like show or something like that, and I'm pretty sure Emilio Estevez is on it, baby. So I think he's coming back. Like it's going to be Reed Jr. So I'm going to say that I disagree. He was the original basher and led that team's. That mentality was needed on that soft ass team. Joe, any thoughts?
Love the pick by Rye here. Yeah, so he had a really hard shot, but terrible hit rate, even without the goalie. I mean, no efficiency whatsoever. I mean, couldn't skate. That's a problem. You're honest. Can't skate.
Yeah.
And didn't have like a cool knuckle puck or anything. And, it didn't really bring anything. I mean, it's younger hockey. They don't really let you fight anyway. So, like, what good is he? I mean, it was a great pick.
All right, we had some agreement there for on Ryan. So we'll move on to Ronnie's number 4. What do you got for number 4, Ronnie?
It's fitting. This is number 4. This man was selected the 4th overall pick by the New York Giants and hastily traded away, and for good reason. He stinks. He's never won anything in his life. Complains like a little girl. And I mean that literally because he doesn't curse at all, which is really weird. He says dadgummit all the time. The most overrated player in the NFL within the last 2 decades is Philip Rivers by far, I think. Just someone who had all this potential around him. He's had so many All-Pros like LaDainian Tomlinson. He had Vincent Jackson in his prime. He had Antonio Gates. He had they had some nasty defenses over there with Sean Merriman. He could never get the job done. Very overrated, and he whines all the time. He cries, and lucky for him, or lucky for the city of LA, he's out of LA. Now he's in Indianapolis, his problem. But Phil Rivers sucks.
Thank goodness Thor isn't on this call. That's all I'm thinking. And it's gonna be really sad when like Indianapolis wins the Super Bowl this year for Thor too. But no, I mean, I really hate the way he throws the football. Like it bothers me. I don't know what the deal is. Like, yo, fix your arm. Like, what's happening? I don't get it. It just makes me angry the way that he throws. So yeah, I think he's. I couldn't say he's not overrated. So I'm gonna have to agree, I guess, on this one. Joe, what do you think about Philip Rivers?
I'm in agreement with Ronnie here. I think you got 3 guarantees in life. You got death, you got taxes, and you have the 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time Philip Rivers 4th quarter comeback attempt that usually doesn't work. Yeah. So, which leads to a 7-9 or 8-8 record on the year. I mean, seriously, like the guy's always has like a 4th quarter comeback attempt. Like it seems at least 9 games, 10 games a year. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with Ronnie on this one as much as I do love Thor.
Ryan, what do you think about Philip Rivers?
Couldn't get him off the Giants fast enough. He stole that 4th quarter gimmick shit just from Eli Manning, but of course he couldn't pull through like Eli could every time. Fuck Philip Rivers, great pick.
He also could never pull out.
Oh, yeah, that is the truth.
We didn't practice that.
Anytime you have like double-digit kids, yo, yeah, you're not. That's the truth. All right, I'll move on to my number 4, and this is one of the most overrated athletes of all time, and nobody will disagree with me. Yes, that's right. He's also a punk ass bitch, and he plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's right there is right after he tried to spit on somebody. He's a piece of shit. The person that's good on that team is Malkin. Fuck this guy. Okay. He's been on the following in Ovechkin's footsteps for years. Okay. I don't want to hear it about, he's got all, I don't want to hear the ring shit. That's because of Malkin and the other people on the team. That guy is soft as shit. He never wants to fight. He's a pussy. I hate that guy in the sport of like manly men. He is the bitch that I could not stand, and he is overrated. I don't care what you tell me. You're never gonna convince me that guy. That they tell you he's the best ever. Get the fuck out of here, bro. I'm not even like I don't even watch that much hockey. That guy is not the best. If he's the best ever, then you all got problems. So, Joe, what do you think about Sidney Crosby?
I don't know anything about Crosby or hockey, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby is the best hockey player of all time. I mean, this is coming from the #1 Caps fan of all time, and I gotta admit that this guy is the greatest. He's like every Mighty Ducks character put together. He has a crazy stick movement. He's got a hard shot. He can throw down. He throws fists all the time. He's got the rings. He's got everything. He can do it all. So, greatest hockey player of all time, without a doubt.
So I gave up my my whole hating on the Caps thing. Literally the year that they won the Stanley Cup. So y'all can thank me for that. So naturally here I would say I'm the #2 Caps fan. I agree with Ryan because everything Ryan says is true because he's #1 Caps fan. But Sidney Crosby sucks. The dude's got scrambled eggs for brains right now. Like getting knocked around. Can't hang with the big boys. A lot of potential. I mean, I don't think anyone can deny the potential is there, but you're right. They view him with rose-colored or rose-tinted glasses, especially the Canadians.
Because he's Canadian, like stop the hate on the Russians, dude.
I've always liked the Evgeny Malkin better, anyway. So
yeah, way better. All right, so we're already up to number 3 for Mr. Hunter himself. What do you got? Who you got for number 3, Joe?
Oh man, it's back to me. I'm going to go with, on my list here, it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Jason Sehorn.
Shit. What?
Completely overrated. What do you guys know about Jason Sehorn? Anybody?
He's married. He's married to a chick that's on TV.
All right, there's one thing. Anything else?
Went to USC, second-round pick, New York Giants, all-pro cornerback in 1999 for 2000, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He hurt his knee in 2001 or 2000. Yeah, 2001, and he was never seen since.
Yeah, he's known as the white cornerback that everybody loves because he's the only white cornerback, and that's literally it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, much respect for that. But, like, all right, man, you had an all-pro year, apparently. I didn't even know about that. Like, that's cool. No, like, people literally knew him for being the white DB.
For sure. Ryan, what do you think about Jason Sehorn?
I don't know anything about Jason Sehorn. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. But I'm looking at pictures. He's looking pretty jacked and has a hot wife, so he's probably a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I gotta disagree with you here, Joe. Jason Sehorn, absolute legend. The only white guy able to run with all the receivers in the NFL. And, he's someone that, unfortunately his career got cut short. I think he had some more left in him if they didn't let him return punts like idiots. But then again, this is the New York Giants of the late 90s, early 2000s, so a lot of stupidity was going on. I like Jason Sehorn. He had one of the greatest interceptions in the NC divisional game against the Eagles. You should look that up. It was good.
So they won the Super Bowl in 2000, dude. What are you talking about? Whatever. Danny, go ahead.
So Jason Sehorn is the definition of white privilege. This guy, they wanted to put this guy's face on fucking everything. They wanted to be Mr. NFL. Let's put him on fucking Madden, yo. You know, he's a pretty white boy, and his like cigarette smoking wife who like talks like a man on TV is attractive and can get us ratings as well. Like, fuck all that bullshit. That guy sucks, yo. He's overrated for sure. Definitely definition of white privilege, yo. Get him off of the NFL, yo. I don't want to see. He's like Adam Archuleta. That's who he is. Ryan, who you got for number 3?
So for number 3, I'm going with this fucking creature right here, which is Bill Walton, one of the most overrated NBA basketball players of all time. This guy is in the NBA Hall of Fame. In 1996, he was listed on the NBA's list of 50 greatest players of all time. He had a career point total of 6,215, which is by far the lowest of any player on that list. He had 10 seasons in the NBA. He averaged 13.3 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 3.4 assists per game, which is nothing special. He ended his career with a 0.03 point percentage. This guy's a terrible commentator and spends all of his time hating on his son. And my boy, Luke Walton, has the same number of NBA championships as you asshole. This guy was injured nonstop. He was great at UCLA and had potential, but definitely not Hall of Fame material or someone that should be considered be one of the greatest NBA players of all time.
Ronnie, what do you think about Bill Walton?
Listen, I don't know much about his NBA career. I'm assuming those stats are correct. I don't really know sometimes with Ryan, but if the stats are correct, then you're right. I mean, I know he's definitely someone that's romanticized, you know, sort of. You're told he's sort of great and people sort of accept him. I think for him, I know he blew out his knees and he still played, I think. So that's kind of tough, but that doesn't really make you a great athlete. Although I would disagree with you with his commentating. His commentating is iconic. His voice is iconic. The guy's hilarious. You know, throw it down, big man, and stuff like that. I like Bill Walton, but I kind of agree with you with those stats. He's definitely overrated.
I'm going to agree with you about the overrated part for a whole different reason, because I think his favorite band is the Grateful Dead, who is possibly the most overrated, not just band, but thing of all time. That shit sucks. It's worse than Fish. That shit is terrible. And unless you've done acid, I don't even know what acid feels like. Like, apparently you got to do it hundreds of times before you like these people. I agree. He's overrated just for that fact. Joe, what do you think about Bill?
So I'm going to disagree that he's overrated. I think he's properly rated. And the reason is the Hall of Fame isn't the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So it takes everything, right? So his UCLA career actually is a part of the Hall of Fame. So you take UCLA. He won the championship with Portland as the main guy. He was the MVP. I think he had 4 straight years where he broke his foot. And then went to, I think, like the Clippers for like a hot minute. Then he went to the 86 Celtics and was their 6th man and made them like a top 5 team of all time because of his ability to pass the ball as a 5-man. One of the best passing bigs of all time, like by far, one of the best. So I would say he's properly rated. I think his commentating, at this point, they put him on Pac-12? They put him on Pac-12 games now because they know he's going to be funny. Like the guy who commentates with him, like can't stand him. Listening him commentate early, like 2001, 2002 NBA Finals are terrible. Like it's hard to listen to. But as a player, I would say he's properly rated.
Uh-oh.
All right.
You're up, Ryan.
So obviously Joe won that round, obviously. So we'll move on. I think we're on to number 3 for Ronnie, right? So.
Yeah. My number 3, He's failed many times in his life. His name is Tiki Barber. This guy was a mid-level, mediocre running back one for about 2 or 3 years. Didn't do much. And then Tom Coughlin came along, fixed the offensive line, really featured Tiki, and Tiki became an absolute bitch. Thought it was all about him. He got all those yards because of the offensive line. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And Eli checking into runs for Tiki. He announced his retirement before he retired, which ruined the 2006 season for the Giants. But then after he retired, he went straight into the media. I'll get to that in a second. He insulted Eli the season, in the offseason after 2006. And of course, once you get rid of the bad apples, the bad seeds, you can allow people to flourish. And that's what Eli did. He won a Super Bowl that year, Super Bowl 42. And, Tiki went on to a media career, which quickly flamed out, which is ironic because his former teammate who didn't criticize Eli and stayed for the next season and won a Super Bowl, Michael Strahan, has an infinitely better media career than him now. Not only that, but Tiki is an absolute piece of shit in all facets of life. His pregnant wife, he left her for his intern at NBC. She was pregnant with twins, like 8 months pregnant. He's all around scumbag. He uses big words to try to sound smart. And he went to the University of Virginia. Tiki Barber, you suck. We hate you. You're overrated.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that, baby. I'm going to move on to Joe. What do you think, Joe? Any thoughts?
I think Ronnie said it perfectly.
I mean,
Ryan.
I hate anybody who wears a vest like that. He's really not pulling off those boots either. Fuck you, Tiki Barber. You got to go.
I know those boots, if they're a different color, maybe. But, obviously he made his choices. He's got to sleep in the bed he made. All right, so we'll move on to my number 3 because obviously Ronnie was so passionate. No one disagreed how terrible of a person and just individual, I guess, he is. I'm going to move to my number 3, and the next 2 people I'm going to use the same terminology a little bit probably, whereas I felt like they were part of a system that was really well designed, and they did fine, but like so many people could have run the system. It was such a it was such a good system. So there's the next 2 picks. This one for me, people have super big thoughts on this guy. I'm not really care about him one way or the other, to be completely honest with you, but I do think he's overrated. Let me see if I can get a picture up really quick. No, I can't. It's Tom Brady. All right. Tom Brady is overrated. I'm sorry. If people think that I'm wrong, they can argue with me. But, I think we'll find out. He has, he can actually prove this year, he can prove me wrong. I just, the guy had, I feel like, such a good system, such a good team. The defenses were always so good. And everyone wants to give the credit to the quarterback, but it's like I've never heard anyone, it's like, oh, that was a great 12-yard out that he threw. You know what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck cares, yo? Like, anybody can throw that pass. Almost every college player should be able to throw that pass. They're talking about, oh, he's the greatest late round pick. Like, it's like, yo, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, people came in and ran that same offense, and watch, I bet you Stidham runs it and they probably still win 9 games this year. You know what I mean? So I think he's overrated. I think it's a system thing. I know people will disagree, maybe not on this podcast, but they will disagree. But we'll see him this year and see how he does. But I think he's a system guy. What do you think, Joe?
I'm going to disagree on this one. I don't think he's a system guy. I think he's Captain America. Young Tom Brady was kind of annoying. Older Tom Brady, I'm just like, all right, it's kind of cool now. Like, you're still doing this. So, no, I think he's the best quarterback of all time. I think I think he is the best quarterback there's been. And I'm actually intrigued to see what they do in Tampa Bay. I think they're going to do some good things down there. So sorry, but disagree on this one.
All right. I respect you still. Ryan?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say if he's overrated or not because you can argue if you put anybody in his situation or any decent quarterback in the same position, they'll get the same results just because of the entire team, coaching staff, everything that he had at his disposal. I mean, we'll never know. I think overrated is probably correct. That yeah, he's definitely not as good as people make him out to be just because they won so much. It's just because they had so much at their disposal. He was fucking terrible on Saturday Night Live. Definitely one of the worst hosts of all time. I'll tell you who's fucking overrated. It is his fucking wife, Giselle, whatever. She's not that hot.
A lot of makeup there. Ronnie, what do you think about Tom?
Danny, he's on my list too. Don't worry, I have a backup. So that person is nestled into his spot. But yeah, Tom Brady is definitely overrated. Listen, everyone's going to find out this year. They're going to make excuses for him, but they're going to find out this year that Bill Belichick really is the architect of that whole dynasty. And now I'm not sitting here and saying that Tom Brady wasn't good. He was smart enough to run the offense, especially in the early years. The first time their offense really took off was the 2007 season when they went 18-1. They lost Super Bowl 42 to the Eli Manning New York Giants, in case anyone don't remember. But they made some infamous trades. They got Wes Welker and they got Randy Moss. Listen, Randy Moss is the best deep threat wide receiver in the history of football. And Tom Brady did have a cannon at that point. So, yeah, when you're seeing Randy Moss score 23 touchdowns, I'm telling you, 98% of that is Randy Moss. 2% of that is whoever's throwing him the ball. To top all that off, you have the Wes Welkers. You have, Rob Gronkowski, who also was an absolute freak of nature in the line of Moss. But you also have Julian Edelman. You have Troy Brown. You see that they're able to put pieces in there. They're able to get guys that are shifty, quick, in small spaces. Tom Brady's whole offense, people call other quarterbacks captain checkdown. Most of his throws go 3 or 4 yards downfield. It's 1 or 2 step drops and just get the ball out because there's a one-on-one situation. He's able to identify it. They're able to break away. A lot of his yards, a lot of his completions. I'm not saying he's. I mean, that in and of itself is good, but to call him the greatest, to call him the best ever, I can't get on board with that. His arm strength is really not where it is right now, and they have a lot of deep threats in Tampa, and people are going to play them close. I'm telling you, the safeties are going to be 15 yards back, if that, and it might be rough going for them. So Tom Brady's definitely overrated.
Daring to beat him deep. That's right. All right, Joe, you were stood alone on that one, buddy, and you're up for number 2. So what do you got for number 2, sir?
So for number 2, I'm going to go with Allen Iverson.
Ooh.
Allen Iverson on my list. So not saying he's not a Hall of Famer. Not saying he wasn't a great player. I think people look at who Allen Iverson was and respect who he was, which, he's right here, and that brings him up here because, hey, he just did it his way, which is awesome. Hey, do your thing, that's fine. But I think people are kind of romanticizing that a little bit as opposed to, him as a player, really good player, but, dude, he's shooting, 40% on all of his teams. His MVP year, he shot 42%. He's getting 31 a game when he's shooting 25 times, 42%, 32 from 3. The next year, he's jacking almost 28 shots a game. Dude, that's a ton of shots. 28 shots a game on less than 40% for the year. It's too inefficient in how he played. And people always talk about no, they didn't give him teammates. I don't believe that at all. He had teammates. They can't play with them. His style of play didn't mesh with everybody. They had Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse at one point averaged 30 points in the league. Jerry Stackhouse was a good player. They had Larry Hughes. Larry Hughes was on the Wizards. Larry Hughes was on the brink of an all-star. We're not talking about Hall of Famers, but these are good players that are on his team. He had Iguodala. He had an older Chris Webber at the end. He had Tim Thomas. Nobody talks about Tim Thomas. Tim Thomas was the top 5 player coming out of high school, went to Villanova for a year, and then he was on the 2000 Bucks team as a sixth man, was a really good offensive player. Like, he had players with him, but you couldn't, like, they couldn't mesh with his style. And what I always use is he went to Denver, and it was him and Carmelo. They're both averaging like 25 a game, and they're like a 7 seed. So then they trade Iverson to Detroit for Chauncey Billups, and Chauncey comes over there. He tells Carmelo and J.R. Smith, no, you're not going to the club anymore. We're doing this. Like, we're going to be a team. We're going to be professionals. And they were the 2 seed in that year. And that's the year that the Lakers won, and they were right there with the Lakers. Like, they could have beaten the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals because Iverson was gone and Billups was in. So, Hall of Famer, awesome player, but in the way that people talk about him, I think he's overrated.
Ryan, you got thoughts on AI?
Absolutely. You know what you're not talking about, Joe, is practice. Ain't talking about practice. Yeah. I mean, I like Allen Iverson, but he reminds me of, that kid you used to play basketball with growing up.
Ian Brooks?
No, not Ian, but like Matt Wood or something like that, who used to just chuck up 23s a game, and he made one. But that one is all people remember. So they act like he's the greatest of all time because he made some, amazing shot, but he put up fucking 19 other ugly ass shots before that. That's kind of what he reminds me of, but I like AI.
Ronnie?
Listen, now that Joe mentions it, like, it's tough for me to reconcile this. There's a couple things going on here. I hate Philadelphia like so much. He's easily my favorite Philly sports person. Just the way that he sort of willed them to that NBA Finals that one year against the Lakers, and he hit that shot. And he stepped over Tyronn Lue. I still remember it, and he crossed up Jordan when he was young, and he's done things that other people at the time really hadn't seen before from an athletic standpoint. Now, is that functional? Like, and for his case, like Joe was saying, like, really it isn't. Like, you need to be able to practice. You need to be able to, work with your teammates. And I don't want to say he didn't work with his teammates, but a lot of it seemed like it would flow through him. And from a functional standpoint, I agree with Joe. But I love Allen Iverson. It was always fun to watch for me, and I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, only Philly athlete that I ever remember rooting for or could root for, I feel like. And I feel like it's hard for me to say that he's overrated just because watching him at Georgetown, like, maybe it was because he was close to home, but like it was different. And I'm not a Georgetown fan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Maryland fan. Like, fuck Georgetown. But dude, I was watching Georgetown games. So it's hard to say that he's overrated. I think that, I mean, some of the teams weren't great, probably, but I agree with Joe. He wasn't a great teammate. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that he's overrated, though. I think he's, in my opinion, properly rated. And just for, I just like him as a person, too, just kind of real with it. So, Ryan, what you got for we're already up to number 2, I think.
Yeah, so for my number 2, Joe, I promise this isn't, directed at you specifically. I had made my pick before we knew we were bringing you on. So I think most of you from that introduction realize that I'm talking about, of course, French speedwalker Johan Denzen. I mean, what's the most common phrase you hear people say when they're trying to talk about the best person at a certain sport? They'd be like, "Oh, Michael Jordan. He's the Johan Denzen of basketball." But I mean, why? This guy totally sucks. He doesn't finish the 2008 Olympics because, man, it's too hot outside. He was disqualified in the 2012 Olympics for cheating. And at the 2016 Olympics, he shits himself and then passes out over and over again. I mean, I'll never understand why people rep this guy so hard. I mean, Joe, you had that shirt that said "The Man Johan," which we were always wearing on the rare occasions when you actually wore a shirt. Maybe you would like to respond to this, Joe.
I will say I disagree. And the reason I disagree and think that he's underrated is when you shit yourself and you pass out multiple times, you should be talked about for years to come. And that never happened with this guy. Yeah, I don't like Deadspin at all, but I remember seeing a Deadspin article where they say like, yeah, like runner, walk, or whatever, like shits himself and passes out, and then they had to update it. They had to put in parentheses, it happened again, like in the headline. This guy's the man. I mean, he just keeps going. You can't knock him down. With the exception of all the times before this when you said that he did quit and you did knock him down, but I'm not going to really look about that. I'm going to look to the future, and I'm going to say that he's underrated.
Ronnie, any thoughts on Johan?
The only knowledge I have of this guy is Ryan. I think Chip showed me that he shit his pants constantly. You're totally overrated if you're in the Olympics and you're shitting your pants in your sport of choice. So this guy stinks. I agree with Ryan.
Thanks, Ronnie.
All this
Literally.
straight Olympic hate. This is just terrible. This guy leaves it all out on the course. Have you guys ever been fucking dehydrated, yo? I mean, I have. It was from drinking, but I wanted to take myself to the hospital. This guy's out here speed walking, and y'all are gonna shit on my man. No pun intended.
He
Did
shit
you
on
see those yellow shoes he's wearing? Those yellow shoes were fly as shit. The only thing wrong with this guy is that he's French. All right, just leave him alone. He's fine. He's fine who he is. And what? I mean, it was hot as shit in 2008 probably, and he tried to cheat. I mean, so what? I mean, everyone cheats. I mean, look at Lance Armstrong. So whatever. This guy's fine. Leave my man alone. He's an Olympic champion. Just stop the hate, yo. Ronnie, who you got for number 2?
Thanks for segueing me into my number 2, Danny. It is absolutely Mr. Lance Armstrong. That was not planned either. All right, first off, fuck this guy, all right? He's giving everyone the finger, so fuck him. Second off, he cheated constantly. Like, from day one, this motherfucker is a cheater. Blamed it on everyone else cheating. That doesn't make any sense to me, but blamed it on everyone else cheating, which is not true, because not everyone else cheated. Not only that, he got cancer, which obviously I don't think is a good thing that people get cancer, but he got cancer. He made this like Live Strong, all those stupid bracelets and shit. He made a fuck ton of money off of it. That's supposed to all go to charity. I don't think it did. And not only that, but this dude would ruin people's careers, like medical people that are taking his samples that found out he tested positive. He threatened their lives. He ruined this one girl. He abused this girl mentally so horribly that she had like a mental breakdown, had to get institutionalized. He threatened people to murder them and have them murdered. I mean, what did this motherfucker do? He rode a bike. Like, come the fuck up. What the fuck is wrong with you, Lance Armstrong? You're a piece of shit. Fuck you. Fuck you, USPS. They suck too. They're about as reliable as you. You stink. We hate you. You're an angry piece of shit. Fuck you, Lance Armstrong. I hate Lance Armstrong. You're over it.
I'm gonna pile on right here. Lance Armstrong's a fucking terrible person. He's the Brian Williams of cycling. He might as well have been on a fucking helicopter going from stage to stage. Who the fuck cares? And then I think he really started my hate for cyclists in general. And I feel bad because like my dad loves to ride bikes, but they love to call themselves cyclists. They take themselves way too seriously. These motherfuckers don't pay attention on the road. Like they're just like they feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want. They don't stop for shit. Like motherfucker, yo. Like I got a car, yo. Back the fuck up. What's wrong with you? Like I don't know. I feel like the hate started with him after we found out that he was a terrible person. Yeah, I mean, just can't even talk about how terrible the all the shit that went on, And everyone was doing it, Like you were the one that was holding out, saying you didn't. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
fuck off, Joe. What do you think?
If we were talking about bikers on Rhode Island Avenue at that four-way stop, which is now a four-way light, if we were saying they were overrated, I would agree with you. I believe that Lance is properly rated. I think that he's properly rated because I think everybody does hate him. So I think in terms of, I don't care that he did performance enhancing drugs. I honestly don't. Everybody did it. I could not care less. So he basically, the field, in my opinion, was even because everybody was taking it, and he was just better. He's got a Michael Jordan maniacal personality when it comes to competition. From what I understand, I don't I don't think the Live Strong money went to him. I do think it went to research other good cause. I could be wrong about that. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So I'm not, um, taking that one with me, but so I could be wrong about that. But I thought it did go to good causes there. All the other stuff when he was trying to defend himself, yeah, you can't really defend that. That was, pretty rough stuff there. So I would say properly rated because I don't think anybody likes Lance in general right now. Um, you know,
Ryan, you got any thoughts on him?
Yeah, bad pick by Ronnie. Definitely the best biker of all time. I mean, you can do as many steroids as you want. You're not going to get out there and do what this guy did. You know, everyone's all pissed, all mad at him and shit like that. I mean, you fell for his bullshit. So don't be mad at him just because he tried to promote some stupid shit and you fell for it and you bought those stupid bracelets. That's your fault.
I
This
never
guy's
bought one because they don't fit big men. Fuck that dude.
That guy's the man. He bangs out Sheryl Crow, who's a great singer. He used to ride his bike with a Sean Bradley card in his spokes, which was tight as shit. This guy's all around the man.
All right. Let's move on from this terrible person into my next system player that everybody seemed to love. This guy, and that's like for some reason everyone wants to keep on like hopping on this guy and give him a shot and let him do more shit. Like, what's the fucking deal with Tim Tebow, right? Like, seriously, this guy is a fucking overrated. Okay, he can do a jump pass, so all of a sudden let's take him in the first round. I mean, talk about Philip Rivers throwing motion driving me crazy. This guy does too because he can't throw the fucking ball. He's terrible. I mean, everyone loves him because he's a good-looking guy. He's Christian. I feel like, oh, it's the next great white quarterback. Like, who gives a fuck about this guy? This guy's terrible. Then it's like he wants to play baseball. Let him play baseball, and like, fuck playing. He sucks, yo. Yeah, like just let's. I mean, he wouldn't be on the team for what? Oh, he hit a double. It's like that made Sports Center. He hit a double, like in a double-A game. Like, what the fuck is happening? Or what am I watching? That's why I don't watch ESPN anymore. It's just bullshit. Yeah, it's all propaganda. Fuck that guy. He's overrated like shit. He's probably we would win 2 Heisman trophies. Shit just taints the fucking award. Joe, what do you think?
I think he's properly rated. Um, I don't think he's overrated because I don't think people think he was any good. Like here's the deal. I think Tim Tebow is a top 5 college player of all time. I think he was that good. I think he was at least 1 Heisman, 2 championships. I want to say, but it might have. I don't think it was 2 Heismans. I want to say it was definitely 2 championships. I mean, he was absolutely awesome at Florida when he got drafted. Like that was a shock. Literally everybody said, "What are you doing?" So I mean, all it takes is one team, but I think the rest of the NFL was like, "What? This makes no sense." Like they wanted him to try out at tight end. Like nobody believed he was actually going to be a quarterback. I think he's great at what he does now on the SEC network also. He doesn't hold back. Like, he actually gives good analysis on college game day and for college football games, as opposed to like a lot of guys. It's like, hey, you got to run the ball more. Like, he actually can give you some good football analysis, and he takes that job very seriously. You can tell he does the prep work, which I respect as well. So yeah, good looking dude, and he just married a smoke as well. So like that's cool. And I'm gonna say Tim Tebow, properly rated.
I'm just going to disagree with your first pick just because you disagree with all mine. Ryan, what you think?
That's a good pick. I was considering him for my list as well. I just had 5 other people I wanted to talk about, but it's like, how many chances are you going to give this guy?
Right.
Like, how many undeserved chances are you going to give this guy just after and after again? It's like this guy is like the Mac Miller of football, where people just they're trying to push this guy on me over and over again. I'm like, no thanks, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, Miller.
I mean, this guy, like him playing baseball, is pretty much like Michael Jordan playing baseball in Space Jam, where he strikes out and they're like, "Good job, champ." That's how we treat this guy. Why do we treat this guy with fucking uh, oven mitts on and be, oh, everything's great, Tim Tebow. You suck, Tim Tebow. Fuck you.
Yeah. Ronnie?
Yeah, completely agree with you, Danny. Tim Tebow, I remember in college, great college quarterback. To be honest with you, I'm going to take this in a different direction. Tim Tebow underrated himself. The worst decision he ever made is not playing tight end, not learning how to catch and block. To be dead honest with you, he could always break the first tackle. He's big, he's strong, he's quick. He honestly could have been an all-pro tight end if he really tried. But he's an idiot, and he decided he wanted to try and only play quarterback. My man, you can't throw a football. My wife can throw a football just as good as you, which is not saying a lot because she went to Michigan State. But it's just one of those things where, with the whole facade he put on, not facade, I mean, it is who he is, but the whole persona of Tim Tebow is, he's clean cut. He espouses the word of God constantly.
Right.
He got made fun of infamously in the Wonderlic test when all the guys who are in there in his draft were about to take it, and he asked the administrator if he could ask everyone to join in a prayer, and they told him to shut the fuck up. What are you trying to do? Like, who are you trying to be? And it's funny that you showed that picture because he had the Eagles logo on. They actually have another overrated quarterback that does the exact same thing. I didn't put him on my list. I actually crossed it out because his story is yet to be told. But Tim Tebow was never going to amount to anything athletically, professionally, and we're still talking about him. So you're right. Absolutely correct.
Thank God Monica doesn't watch this show.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or can't hear you from the other room. So we're already up to our number 1 for Mr. Hunter, which I disagree with already. What do you got, Joe, for number 1?
All right, I'm gonna go. My number 1 pick is Kobe. Kobe is my number 1 pick.
Too soon.
But I think that's a part of it right there, on there. So yeah, no, obviously, like that was terrible. What happened with Standing? I think that's, and I get why. I think people are kind of taking that, and it happens a lot, and I have no issue with that. Like, hey, let's remember all the real good stuff, and hey, completely fine with that, and completely understand that. No issues at all. I actually thought this before his death as well, so this isn't something that was new. I had talked about it for a while, and that's why I'm saying it. He won 5 titles. He won 2 as the main guy. Okay, so there's a big difference between winning titles and winning titles as the guy. Okay, the first 3, he was really good. Okay, him and Shaq, you can, even if you want to say they're 1A and 1B, that's fine. He was clearly 1B though. Shaq was the guy. Shaq had the 3 MVPs. He was the guy that everybody needed to stop, and he was the guy that they couldn't stop. They actually wanted Kobe to shoot at times because Like he was going to put it up. People completely forget that in 2006 they made the playoffs and they played the Phoenix Suns. He was up 3-1. They lost Game 5, and then in Game 6 he shot a ton, and they lost that also. Now the Suns were like a 1 or 2 seed. This is like Nash, Stoudemire Suns, great team, and everybody got on Kobe for Game 6 for shooting too much, and it pissed him off. So in Game 7 of the playoffs, he barely shot the ball because he was just pissed off. So he threw a tantrum in Game 7 of the playoffs, and he quit because he was upset at what everybody was talking about. People give him credit for staying in LA for 20 years. Yeah, that's great. But what people are also forgetting is he asked for a trade. When the Lakers didn't trade for Jason Kidd and they kept Andrew Bynum, Kobe, and this is on record, like he went on, I think it was Stephen A's show and said it, like, you can Google this. This is out there. He wanted to get traded. He wanted to get traded to the Bulls. But the thing was, he didn't want them to trade to the Bulls, but he didn't want, hey, Bulls, don't give up too much because I want to play with someone also. So he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Like he asked for a trade. He almost signed with the Clippers. I think it was in 2004. He was very close to signing with the Clippers, and then he didn't. He signed back with the Lakers. He got gifted the Pau Gasol trade in one of the worst trades of all time. And also I think it was his 5th title against the Celtics in Game 7. He was terrible. Literally, Doc Rivers said to his team, "We're going to double team Kobe Bryant because he's not going to pass the ball. He's going to shoot the ball anyway." Pau Gasol was the best player in that series. Pau Gasol should have gotten MVP in that series. He was the best player. Kobe Bryant is a Hall of Fame player. I hear people saying that he's top 5. I highly disagree with that he's top 5. I think he's Hall of Fame. I think he's very high on the list of all-time players. I just don't think he's as high as what you hear about him. Not saying he's not an outstanding player also. I think people have him a little bit too high on that list. And once you get that high, like the best players, well, it's like razor thin margins, man. It's razor thin margins as well.
Ryan, what do you think about Kobe?
Well, his N64 game was fucking terrible. So I agree with everything that Joe said, and I'm glad he's dead.
Whoa. Ronnie?
Listen, I remember Kobe, the Western Conference Finals against the Kings. They were losing. I think it was Game 7, and he blatantly elbowed Mike Bibby right in the face. Should have been called a foul.
6.
Game 6. Should have been called a foul. I know Joe's not going to agree with me, but that game was rigged as shit. That ruined my NBA outlook.
Agreed.
It really ruined my NBA outlook. They really wanted them to win so bad. Kobe was pressed for a very long time as the next Jordan. Like, the NBA pushed him hard. And I'm not saying that he wasn't good. I agree with Joe. He's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't be opposed to someone saying he's top 10, top 15, but in the grand scheme of things, he did need Shaq. He did need, like Joe said, Paul Gasol. He had a lot of help on those championship teams. He was the guy for a couple of them, and he had some great games, and he definitely was a great player for his time. One of the best. But in the grand scheme of things, he is vastly overrated. And I will not say what Ryan said.
Disagree with this wholeheartedly. I think that Shaq was one of the talk about AI being a tough teammate. I think Shaq was probably one of the toughest teammates. I don't know. I don't know him personally, but it just seems like that kind of, he's intimidating, and he wants the ball. He wants to be the center of attention. I think Kobe wanted to win so bad that he kind of, let his his shine dim a little bit around Shaq to make him. Shaq's one of my favorite basketball players of all time. I'm not hating on Shaq at all. But I used to think this way about Kobe as well. He gained my respect throughout the years. Winning 5 titles and with different squads, staying in one city. I'm not an LA guy or anything, I'm not a Lakers guy, but I disagree. I think that you got whole generations of kids legitimately in the playing basketball, or when they're shooting condoms into the trash can after they had sex, saying Kobe, baby. I mean, like, it's classic. It's not gonna, never gonna, that's never gonna go away. I remember him as, and I mean, like, I think it's funny when people are like, oh, he's not top 5, but he's top 10. I mean, like, the top, I mean, like, you just said it was razor thin. Like, top 10 of the NBA is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that dude's overrated. Disagree with that one. Kobe, RIP, man. You're the man. Black Mamba all the way. Disagree with that one. Sorry, Joe. Last one was a dud for me. Ryan, what do you got for your number 1?
Okay, for my number 1, of course, the correct answer for everyone's number 1 most overrated athlete of all time should be Michael Phelps. I've already said my piece on Michael Phelps. Check out Top 5 Things That Are Terrible podcast for my thoughts on that. So for my number 1, I'm going with Alexander Ovechkin. Seen in this picture breaking NHL Rule 10.5. I mean, being the number 1 and number 2 Caps fan, respectively, Ronnie and I talk about this guy a lot, and it pains us to see the team we love being led by some buffoon who's just flopping around on the ice the entire time. This guy has 706 regular season goals. 428 of those goals were when the other team had no goalie in an open net. 15 of those goals were on his own net. 7 were also in open net situations. Somehow this guy got engaged to Maria Kirilenko, but he broke off the engagement after she destroyed him in the best of hockey, Frogger, and tennis match. This guy is always pushing for the return of the Soviet Union. Actually, if you beat NHL 18 with the Washington Capitals, Mikhail Gorbachev is lowered onto the ice by a helicopter, and Ovi and him do that Russian dance where they both kick out their legs. Definitely most overrated player of all time besides Michael Phelps.
Ronnie, what do you think about this absolutely terrible pick?
Yeah. Ryan's right. This guy, he's a Russian spy. Yeah. Flopping around all the time on the ice. Ryan's number 1 Caps fan. No one watches more Caps games than Ryan. He loves the Caps. One time I accidentally cut Ryan with like a piece of paper. I was handing him something, and he literally bled a bunch of Caps. It was kind of weird. Like, man, you're really into the Caps. If he hates Alexander Ovechkin, I gotta agree with him. Vastly overrated. He's not. He's not Martin St. Louis. So
you guys are out. This is one of the worst picks of all time. My man brought me a fucking championship after 44 years, and we ain't win shit. All right, since Maryland won in 2002, we went on that fucking crazy run in 2018, and this guy deserves a fucking statue. You bow down to this man when you see him. You understand me? I don't care who you are. I care if you're not from around here. And Russia is cool as shit. Look, I mean, how bad can Russia be? We have Trump in office, yo. Like, what are y'all comparing shit to? Like, I mean, he has fun all the time with whatever he's doing. You can't help but love this guy. He drank like a keg a day or something like during the celebration, and and he was still awake to lift up the cup the next day. I don't know how he did it. He's having kids now for the next generation of Caps. Give me the Russians all day, man. This is a terrible pick. That's my boy right there, wearing the Canadian flag to make fun of Crosby. In that picture, it even shows you how better of a person that guy is. Terrible pick. Joe, what do you think about Ovi?
I'm with Danny on this one. Disagree with the pick. I think he should get respect alone for the 3 months of drunkenness that he had after winning the cup. I don't think any athlete has ever celebrated to that level of intensity, and I appreciate intensity. So disagree with the pick.
Certainly do. You do. All right. All the way up to numero uno for Mr. Dar.
All right, number one. Danny stole my number one, who was Tom Brady. So I did have a backup number one, which is kind of odd because he wasn't my number two. But it is Brett Favre, the eternal living interception machine. I don't know what the hell happened in the 90s, but for some reason, he drugged everyone and convinced everyone he was good. The dude is just chucking the football everywhere, just completely nonsensical. And for some reason, people are always like, "Oh, wow, this is so great. It's so unique," and blah, blah. I'm like, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he literally admitted not knowing what a nickel defense meant his second year with the Packers. Dude retired after Eli Manning retired him in 2007. Devastating loss against the New York Giants. NFC Championship game, frozen game, up in Lambeau. You should watch it along with Super Bowl 42 for some context. He gave way to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, who we hated on earlier, had to sit on the bench for 3 years. I mean, Ryan wouldn't even call Aaron Rodgers overrated if he had those 3 years back. Like, he would have had such great years, but Brett Favre ate up another person's career, came back with the Minnesota Vikings, got the living snot beat out of him by the Saints, and then eventually had to retire again and came back again with the Jets. And it's just like, man, we don't want you here. You stink. You're not good. And yet people kept signing him. He was never overtly great. But regardless of what I see now, everyone's going to consider him overtly great. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. We all know who he is. We all know what he's done. Brett Favre is vastly overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really hate on Brett Favre a whole lot. But I mean, I think that, I think he's like Matt. He's kind of like Matt Stafford almost. I don't know. Like, he's not that. I mean, like, what's
James
the deal?
Winston.
It's like he's got a good arm or something like that, but he just never could put it together. I don't know. Just weird guy. Yeah. Don't got much to say about Brett. Joe, what do you think?
I'm going with Brett Favre. Got no issues with Brett Favre. Disagree here. I'm going to disagree with Ronnie. And Ronnie gave false information. He went to the Jets before the Vikings.
Sure.
So that was incorrect. The one Jets year was but the next year with the Vikings, he actually was like an MVP caliber year. They almost won. I think that was the year that the Saints won the Super Bowl, and I think the Vikings.
It was the OT game or something, right? Where he threw the
bounty year. It was the bounty year. Yeah.
Bounty gate.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but he easily could have been in the Super Bowl. Like, he had an MVP year. Now the year after that, he was terrible again. But I think he had that one stretch of 3 years as the MVP, I want to say, in the mid-'90s, kind of when I started paying attention to NFL football. Also a guy that I think would be fun to have a beer or 10 with. So I'm going to disagree with Ronnie here.
Ryan, you got any thoughts before I give mine number one?
Absolutely. No surprise here. Another fantastic pick by Ronnie. Killing it with the list recently. I mean, this guy's considered one of the all-time great quarterbacks of all time. And I mean, when you're talking about Eli Manning, Geno Smith, Pat White, I mean, you can't even say, Brett Favre in that same sentence and be taken seriously. I mean, him coming back out of retirement was the most tired ass shit of all time. He did it 7 times in a row, and people talked about it every year for a month. I don't care, you're coming back. And like, how many times have you picked up your phone just to see a dick pic from Brett Favre? Stop sending dick pics to everybody, Brett Favre. I don't want to see it, man. I don't want to see you anymore. Just fade into obscurity. Stop with the dick pics.
He's like Conor McGregor in the retirement sense, like, and he was almost made my list. That guy's tired as shit. Fucking Nate Diaz beat that boy twice, and everyone wants to try to get around it. All right, number one for me is obvious. If you guys had any doubt in your mind that this was going to be number one, okay, you're incorrect. This is exactly who I'm going to pick every single time. Fuck you, Daryl Green. Okay, this is my opportunity on this podcast to tell you to fuck off. You're a piece of shit. Okay, I don't care. Oh, overrated. You're overrated as a fucking human being. Okay, you make my 12-year-old ass wait out in the heat. Okay, for hours, and then you won't even give me a fucking autograph. And you tell my dad that he's probably putting it up to him to fucking paying me to get your autograph. Yo, you suck. You're a terrible person. Fuck off. Call me, bro. I would love to do a celebrity UFC match with you so I can choke your ass out, man. You're a fucking terrible person. You're the definition, like, why people hate athletes. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you, yo. Hate 28 all day, every day. I wish you weren't a Redskin. Peace. Joe.
I'm going to follow with what I'm doing here and disagree with Danny.
Whoa.
Daryl Green, as a 40-year-old, was the fastest guy in the NFL without PEDs. I mean, that's incredible. So Daryl Green had...
Is that proof? I think he was on steroids. I'm putting it out there now.
I mean, is that proven?
Yeah.
He had the greatest way of going bald that you can go bald. Like, when he was getting into his 40s, he was losing his hair, but it was back here, but he still had an immaculate hairline. So you could just taper it down really low. I mean, that's how you got to go bald if you got to go bald. I mean, he did it perfectly. I am all in on Daryl Green. Love that guy.
Ryan, what do you think about this piece of shit?
I think he's a piece of shit. I mean, anybody who denies a little kid an autograph is a real piece of shit. I mean, this guy has a bunch of NFL records, and they all have to be with him being old as shit. Like, go fuck yourself, you old piece of shit. Here's an award for being old. Like, get the fuck out of here. Fuck you, Daryl Green.
Yep. Ronnie?
I'm gonna agree with Danny for my own good. He was extremely fast. He was extremely successful, but if Danny's story is true, and we all know it's 100% true, because Chris John corroborated it.
Yeah.
I was there too.
Ryan was there too. That's a scumbag move. You know, he's never denied a kid an autograph. Is John Cena.
Heath Schuler.
Heath Schuler too.
I got his autograph that day. A fantastic gentleman, a scholar.
Gus Farrat.
Him and Stephen Davis, baby.
Stephen Davis, there you go. And Eli Manning will never deny a child an autograph. So screw you, Dale Green.
Fuck you,
Gus Farrat fucking headbutted me that day. It was great.
Where all of his problems began. Ronnie, we're all the way we're through our number ones. Do you have an ethical question of the day for us?
Oh gosh, I didn't think of one. I can think of one real quick though. All right, ethical question of the day. I don't know if I've used this one yet, but say you really got to pee and there's a Wawa, what do you do?
Wait, what?
Say you're really drunk, you got to pee. It's a really long line at the Wawa. What are you gonna do?
Pee on the side of that building, player. That's what it's made for.
I mean, you definitely take a piss right in front of that Wawa. Why? Cops are everywhere. And just say it's your birthday as they try to drag you away. And you get away with it.
I'm a little bit more shy.
You try to find a tree that you can go around and hope that the cops aren't waiting in said parking lot like they were for me that one time.
Apparently, you're all wrong. You just gotta piss your pants, or in the case of the speedrunner, shit them. So I didn't do that. I had to pay $50 to whatever. But next
Most
time,
expensive
totally gonna piss
you've
my
ever
pants.
Was it worth it though? How'd it feel? $50 P. I mean,
That was
Oh,
a
it was great.
$50 fee.
It was great. Like she caught me. I was like, listen, I'm finishing this. Like if I'm getting in trouble, I'm finished.
yeah. What are you gonna charge me with if I keep on peeing?
Right. It's gonna be the same thing.
I get you, bro. We've all been there. We've all been there. It just might not have been a Wawa. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Watching volume. We're already up through volume 7. I thought this was a great episode. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate it,
Take
fellas.
care. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, man.
This is a great one.